All right, guys, there we're going to solve systems again, but this time using inverse matrices, inverses. First thing I do is show you how to find the inverse. Pretty simple. First thing you do is find the determinant. Don't forget how to do that. You multiply your first diagonal, multiply your second diagonal, and you always subtract, which is going to give me 12. Now watch this step right here. You do the reciprocal of your determinant. It goes in the front as a scalar. You switch places with your first and fourth number, and you change the signs on the other two. And then you can distribute the 1/12 through there, and you get 1/2, 3/12, which is 1/4, negative 2/12 would be negative 1/6, and then 1/12. Let's do one more of those. Again, start by doing your determinant. Multiply this diagonal, 6, that diagonal, 4. Always subtract, that's 2. The reciprocal of that goes in front of your matrix. You switch places with the first number and the fourth number. You change the signs on the other two, and then just distribute the 1/2 through, which will give you negative 1, 2, 1/2, and negative 3/2. And that's all you do to find the inverse. So I'll show you some more here on the next problem. Okay, so now we're going to use that to solve the system using inverse matrices. And what we're going to do first is set up what's called a matrix equation. A matrix equation has three matrices. One has the coefficients in it, like that. One has the variables in it, like that. And one has the constants in it, like that. Now, if you were to think about it, this first one's a 2 by 2. That one's a 2 by 1. You're allowed to multiply them because of that reason, and you would get a 2 by 1, which is exactly what we got. So if you go across down, it works out perfectly like the system that you already saw. So what I need to do is find some way to move this matrix right here to the other side to isolate the x and y. And what I'm going to do, since there's no such thing as matrix division, is I'm going to multiply by the inverse. And the inverse, so I got to find the inverse first. Remember, multiply your diagonal, subtract. That's going to be 11. So I'm going to move it over, the inverse over. I'm going to put the 1/11 on the outside, switch places with the 4 and the 2, change signs on the 3 and the 1. Don't forget your 19 and negative 7. All right, now what you're going to have to remember is you got to remember how to multiply matrices. I'm going to leave the 1/11 out here for a minute and just multiply those two matrices. I'm going to cross down. 4 times 19 would be 76, and negative 21, that's going to be 55. And then negative 19 plus negative 14, that's negative 33. And then to finish up, just distribute the 1/11. 1/11 of 55 is 5. 1/11 of negative 33 is negative 3. And there's your solution, 5, negative 3. Solved it using inverses. Let me show you one more like that one. All right, once again, set up your matrix equation, put your coefficients in 1, put your variables in 1, and put your constants in the last one. All right, now, again, I got to move that matrix over, so I'm going to move the inverse of it over. Multiply this way, multiply that way, subtract, that's 17. So when I move it over, the 1/17, remember the reciprocal, the 1/17 goes on the outside. Switch places with the 4 and the 5. Switch signs on the other two. And don't forget this one. Now, my advice is usually always leave that 1/17 to the very end. So I'm going to leave it sitting out here. I'm going to multiply those two going across down, which would be 50 and minus 1. And then also negative 30 minus negative 4. Sorry, it should be 50 plus 1 right there. So I get 51 and negative 34. And so when you distribute the scalar, or you take the 1/17 through, 17 goes into 51 3 times. It goes into negative 34 2 times. So there's your answer, 3, negative 2. No big deal. One thing I just thought about, I think I said subtract, right? Always when you multiply, you add. So when I did this, when I'm going to cross down, I should have added a cross down. Make sure you add there. I think I put subtraction. Sorry about that. You know what? Sometimes you mess up. You just keep on going. Correct it and go on. And the last thing, we are going to do some 3-variable equations tomorrow with inverses, but we're going to use our calculators to do that. And I'd really rather show you those steps in person than have you try to figure that out on your own. So, or even on a video. It's a lot easier just to show it to you. So I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Make sure you got good notes. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. See you. Bye.